just want to show you the updates. This is a 5-minute video, so bear with this. And this has been long, like we were appealing to our brethren and friends to support the building of this headquarters at the General Conference. And finally, brethren, last week, on the 2nd of March, it was dedicated. And there's a church there with, you can see the details here. Let's see.
We're here at the first headquarters of the church here in Roanoke, Virginia, back in 1984 to 1985. General Conference moved to this building right here from Blackwood, New Jersey. They were not intended to stay in New Jersey permanently. They were looking for a permanent place to build the buildings, and they finally came here and bought this place. So in here you had all the General Conference offices here, and the local church also met here as well in this particular building. And later on, it was eventually moved to the garage here. That was by 1991 already the meetings were being held inside this building here. Back in those days, most of the membership here were church officers of the General Conference, or they were family of church members. We started growing from 1995 is when we outgrew this place, and it was time to have the new headquarters built. By the year 1995 in August, Brother Britton from Australia, he was the General Conference president at the time, and he determined that this building was going to be dedicated during his tenure. So the dedication was held in August of 1995. The local church moved in here, and all the officers moved in here as well. And so for the first time, all the officers were in one place here. During that time, there was a lot of work also done with the local community. Our membership began increasing not only by the General Conference officers, but also by local membership. So we'd like to welcome you, of course, inside our new facility. We'd like to welcome you to our church itself. It has the capacity for approximately 250 people. It's divided in several sectors. We have a balcony. We have the side rooms that can be opened up when we have a larger group of people. Up at the top as well, you have the recording studio. They're doing the live streaming from there. That barrier there can be actually opened up, and it can be double this size. The dining hall will seat 120 people. And here is the full-service kitchen that we have. We've been using it regularly already since June, and it's been a real blessing to us. We've also been using this already for some health lectures to the community. Now we go to the other floors. These are the rooms here. So these rooms are designed for 4 people. Obviously, when you have less than 4 people, you can be a little bit more comfortable. You can have a little sofa there, which turns into a bed. So the beds are actually up here. You have a comfortable room here to be able to sleep. So in this room here, you can actually sleep 4 people. So we're going to go down one more floor. So the main use for the basement is actually this room here. It's another meeting hall, basically so that we can have council meetings and things like that. Otherwise, we can use it for cooking demonstrations and any other type of lectures that we have. So the rest of the basement here has 4 additional actual rooms. It can be an office, it can be a treatment room, it can be anything of that nature. So you had a chance to look at some of the history here of our General Conference being located here in Roanoke, Virginia, and the completion of this building here. Now, the next is your part. Obviously, the purpose of the General Conference is to help support the work throughout the world. That's why we needed a headquarters like this. If you have some time, come visit us here in Roanoke.
All right. That was a 5 minute video, and that was an update from the John Conference headquarters. Okay. So it has been a blessing, and since 1995, we have constructed our headquarters of the John Conference, and now we have a new facility, extension of the General Conference Education Department. Praise the Lord for that, brethren. Okay. And thank you also for your support, and may we dedicate ourselves to the Lord. Now, this morning, let us turn to our topic, making a positive impact. It is very important in these days that influence would be an impact to the people around us. But sad because, for example, in the crisis between Israel and Palestine in Gaza, what positive impact can be given? When the Palestinian look and see an Israelite, they will think that it is what? This is a hazard. When an Israelite saw a Palestinian, they would say that it is an enemy. So there's no positive impact between the two. And more so that we can make such evaluation. But I will not be talking about the enmity between people. But in preparation for the future, people born into this world, they grow, they will get old, and as they move along in life, what impact they can put, what impact they can leave in the lives of other people, and especially with those old people. For example, here in Psalm 71, verse 9, 17, and 18, Psalm of David, cast me not off in the time of old age, forsake me not when my strength faileth. O God, thou hast taught me from my youth, and hitherto have I declared thy wondrous word. Where do we leave our old people today? That's one. When they are old, when their strength fails, people just leave their loved ones in the rest home. Well, of course, with um, situations demand such, and this is what David was saying: when we get old, we are away. When our strength fails, what we're gonna do? Now also, when I am old and gray-headed, O God, forsake me not, until I have showed thy strength unto this generation, and thy power to everyone that is to come. What a wonderful prospect of King David when he's old. Still want to glorify God, he still want to show that something can be done by a person even when he is old. And we talk about here the working years, 40 years in life. That is the maximum period, the years that people can work, from age of 20, for example, to 60 years. So when they reach out 60 years, 65, they stop working. Some of them, they enjoy the fruits of their labors, and some of them maybe dependent upon others, right? And the transition from working to retirement can be very traumatic. In terms of our finances, what is the best way to proceed when we are old? when we are retired. David was shown here, and he was entreating the Lord not to forsake him when he should be old. And what was that called for his earnest prayer? He saw that most of the aged around him were unhappy, and that unhappy traits of character increased with their age. It is sad, right? Supposed to be our old people should be happy as they get older. But generally, that unhappy traits of character increase, especially with age. But of course, there are exceptions to the rule. And if persons were naturally close and covetous, they were most so in their old age. If they were jealous, fitful, and impatient, they were especially so when they are aged. You have to remember, brethren, that character does not change when you get older. Sometimes it gets worse. And as people get older, they almost naturally begin to worry about what will be our future. We are old, you know. Unlike when we are young, we are so vigorous, energetic, and we feel invincible when we are young. So, until you notice that your knees are shaking, right? And your back are aching. Yeah, that's what we feel. You know, I'm not sure, but that's what we feel when we were young, of course. And what are the common fears, universal anxieties that we have as human beings? Premature death. What is premature death? Of course, before we take care of our family well, we die. That's one meaning of premature death. All of us will die, but premature death, something like before we take care of our family, we pass away. And also devastating sickness. And it costs a fortune to be sick today. It might draw up all your savings, and that is true. And we have to take this in mind also, brothers and sisters. We are as mortal beings, we are vulnerable to such anxieties and common fears. And sometimes all people experience the neurological and physical limitations. Our minds are clear when we were young, but that's different when you get old. Senile, this kind of brain neurological disease. I know some people that really forget. I had a friend here. We have somebody here before. He knows me well. When I visit him at home several years after, he was familiar with my face, but he could not remember me, all my details. The only thing that he remembers is the person that owes him money. Yeah, yeah. It's funny, but yeah, that was really funny when I when I think about that. He only remember one person, her name and her address. But of course, when we get old, we have a limitation to think and to do something else with our strength. So these are things that we have to consider. Some people don't really mind about this, and some people really have worries about this. Now let us take the parable of Christ about the foolish rich man. In the 12th chapter of Luke, chapter 12, 16 to 21, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of the certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? This farmer became wealthy and rich, and his worry was different from maybe from all of us, because he worried where to put all his increase. People worry because what can I have in the future? You know, what what should I have in the future? So about that, and what happened in the sorry, the connection is lost here. Um, okay, all right. So we have here, and yeah, I mean, some people worry because they don't have anything for the future, but some worried about the massive properties that they have. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater. And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. All right? I will make new barns, new stockroom, and I will build greater. And then he said, Father, and I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. Now the problem is not with working hard. God does not, Christ in the parable does not condemn this rich man for working hard or being wealthy. Okay? The problem is with the attitude towards it. His attitude was, take your ease, drink, eat, and be merry. That's the real issue here. Okay? That's the real issue. But God said unto him, continue in the parable of Christ, thou fool, tonight thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? In other words, who will enjoy those stuff that you have? Who will enjoy the wealth that you accumulated? I will take out your life tonight. And who will enjoy? Will you be able to enjoy your wealth? Of course, somebody will gonna enjoy, but not him. Okay? Yes, we might accumulate some wealth in our life, in our lifetime. Question, who will enjoy that wealth when you pass away? When you get sick, of course, better for some people that have life insurance, they have something to sustain them when they are sick. Life insurance is not actually a life insurance because you cannot enjoy such when you are alive. You enjoy that when you are dead. Yeah. So definitely life insurance is a death insurance. But of course, brethren, we have to prepare for the future. When we die, we need to we have also to leave something for those who are survived, that they will not be burdened when we pass away. So this is the thing here. So is he that layeth up treasure for himself is not rich toward God. And this is the case. The objective of this person, this man's aim were no higher than those of the beasts that perish. If we live for ourselves, then we live like a beast. We follow the law of the jungle. We live as if there were no God, no heaven, no future life, as if everything he possessed were his own. He owed nothing to God nor man. Sometimes when people are, excited, when they enjoy life, they say, sky is the limit. And there's a text here says, the fool had said in his heart, there's no God. This is not just applied to atheists. But if we live for self, this is something applies to us as well. And it says here, this man in the parable has lived and planned for self. He sees that the future is abundantly provided for. He had treasure in store. There is nothing for him now but to treasure and enjoy the fruits of his labors. He regards himself as favored above other men and takes credit himself for his wise management. Of course, right? Some people, those who are rich are actually because they are so wise in managing the financial affairs. And we talk about Bill Gates, some other rich men, the Sultan of Brunei, Bulkiah, so rich, massive wealth. They have net worth of trillions of dollars, billions of dollars. Now those Forbes list of rich men. Brethren, the world is imbalanced. Some are so extremely wealthy, and some have nothing. In some parts of the world, they don't even care about food because they have so many in abundance. In some parts of the world, they don't even know what food is. But look, he is honored by his fellow townsmen as a man of good judgment and a prosperous citizen. And this is what the Bible says. Though while he lived, he blessed his soul, and men will praise thee when thou doest well to thyself. Of course, yeah, popular men, people praise them. And the only thing that would be of no value to him now, it means when God will take out his life, he has not secured. In living for self, he has rejected that divine love which would have flowed out in mercy to his fellow men. Thus, he has rejected life. For God is love, and love is life. So when we live for ourselves and we reject God, we reject life. This man has chosen the earthly rather than the spiritual, and with the earthly he must pass away. Right? Man that is in honor and understand it not is like the beasts that perish. So those who live for self, who reject God and forget about the giver of everything, will perish like the beast. There was no inclination, there was no inclination or hint in Jesus' parable that the rich man was a lazy person or dishonest. Problem was in how he spent what God has given to him. And Christ counsel those who are waiting for his second coming, not just to watch, but to continue working as well. This familiar with this text? Occupy till I come. That's what Jesus said. Occupy till I come. We are to watch while for Jesus to come, but we have to work as well continually while he is still in heaven. While we are waiting, we have to what? Occupy till Jesus comes. Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Not lazy, but the servant that continue to work while he comes. while he's coming, while he's waiting, is blessed. Verily I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. Now, question, ask yourself, what am I living for? What am I doing right now? That's the question that we need to understand, putting ourselves together. What am I living for? No luggage in the afterlife. What can we bring when we die? Of course, yeah, there's something that there's only one thing that we can carry after we die. The greatest, according to Billy Graham, one of the popular preacher, when he was asked and interviewed, what is the greatest surprise in your life? And he said, it is the brevity of life. And he died at 90 years old. But life, according to him, I never dreamed life was going to be so short. Is it true that life is short? Some of us have lived long here. Of course, we wish them to live until the coming of Jesus. Sister Jessie for 96. And we have a sister in Guyana, 104. Yeah. When I was there, I passed through going to her place, and the brother would say, that place, the cemetery, that's where the place that Granny prepared for herself when she's going to die. And that was already long, I was there, maybe like 80 years ago. And she's still alive. I'm not suggesting that you have to prepare your tomb today to stay alive. Hmm? But, some people live to such an age, but we have to remember that life is going to be still short. No question, brethren. Life goes on by quickly. James chapter 4, verse 14, life is compared to a vapor. It appears and then vanish. Right? It appears for a time, but it will vanish. That's reality, brethren. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we can carry nothing out except our character. It is the custom of ancient kings in Egypt and in China that when they die, they will be buried with their live servants, with their animals, favorite animals, and their wealth together, entombed with them. So, of course, we will leave behind. We can carry nothing when we die except our character, but we also leave behind something that we accumulate. And who will get those? Of course, depend upon what plans you made beforehand, before you die. Some people leave a will, and this estate goes to the church, will goes to somebody else, and will goes to someone. So you see, for when he die, he shall carry nothing away. His glory shall not descend after him. Therefore I hated life, according to King Solomon, because the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous unto me. For all is vanity and vexation of spirit. So remember King Solomon, because there was a record left of him. But without those records, what happened? Where's King Solomon? He's in the tomb. Right? The archaeologists just unearthed those remains and mummies of Egypt. What are they? They're famous before, but what are they now? Helpless mummies. So at the end of the days, no matter how great or small our goods might be, We need to have an estate planning. Estate planning. That is, you must have your will. That will be our final act of stewardship. And because God is the owner of everything, when you were born, God sustained you. God gave you something when you grow up. Probably He gave you skill to gain wealth. He has provided you everything. And when you die, it is logical to, to say that we have to return to Him these things that He gave to us. Because He is the owner. We have to return to Him. Even our breath. When you die, where the breath goes back? It goes back to God. Even that person is a wicked person, his breath will go back to God. But look here, when we prepare our will, when we prepare something for the future, we have to start with our own needs. In the Old Testament times, many of the children of Israel were farmers and shepherds. And some of God's promised blessings were couched in farm language. For example, in Proverbs 3:9 and 10, honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. What does it imply? Well, today, who had farms here? Does anyone have farms? Well, of course, the family of Sister Jesse had farms. And who else among us here? Maybe your forefathers had farms before. Okay. So we don't have farms. Most Christians don't have barns today. So we understand that God will bless us still, and God will bless our work or business if we are willing to follow and obey Him. There's a general principle taught here. In Proverbs 23, 27, 23 to 26, it says here, be thou diligent to know the state of your flock, and look well to your herds. In other words, if you have properties, for example, if you are blessed with wealth and properties, you must be diligent to look after them. For riches are not forever, and that the crown endure to every generation. Have you heard about dynasty? Well, Rome is ruled by dynasty, family. The British Empire is ruled by dynasty, but that crown will not stay forever. You have to remember that. You have to remember Rome in Daniel chapter 2. Rome has ruled the world for centuries, but it did not endure every generation. The Ottoman Empire ruled the world, but it did not endure. So many empires that passed away. It is true here. The Word of God tells the truth. The hay appeareth, and the tender grass showeth itself, and herbs of the mountains are gathered. The lambs are for thy clothing, and the goats are the prize of the field. In other words, here, the Bible is giving us warning. It's giving warning against the rich trampling on the rights of the poor or being greedy of the wealth. But we should be diligent in looking our financial affairs in order that we may have enough for ourselves and our family. Yeah. We must be diligent. Proverbs 27, verse 27, what does it mean here? And thou shalt have goat's milk enough for thy food, for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance of thy maiden. Well, if we take this literally, then well, the vegans will complain. but this is not literal. Okay? It only means that we have to provide enough first for our family, for our household, and then outside. Make sure, brethren, that we have enough for ourselves. The idea is to plan ahead for what will happen to your possessions once they are no longer yours. In other words, when you pass away. And that is good stewardship. It is good stewardship of what God has blessed us with, with doesn't I mean, when we talk about stewardship, it doesn't only deal with what we have while we are alive, but also with what happens after we are gone. That's good stewardship. Taking care well of the goods while we are alive, and of course, what happens to those goods when we pass away. That is a part of good stewardship. Because unless the Lord returns in our lifetime, we will one day be gone while our material possessions, whether it is little or lot, will remain behind. So it is up for us now to make provisions so that we can have blessed, or we can be blessed with, also we can be a blessing to others for the furtherance of the work of God. So the final act of generosity. What principle can we take from the following text? I will mention some text here, example here, that are dealing with money. According to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, not trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. So we have to put our trust where? Not in the material possessions that we have, if you have, but we have to trust in the Lord, who gave us all these things. Now there's this thing as deathbed charity. I saw that many withhold from the cause while they live, quieting their consciences that they will be charitable at death. They hardly dare exercise faith and trust in God to give anything while living. But this deathbed charity is not what Christ requires of his followers. It cannot excuse the selfishness of the living. So of course, brethren, uh, if you leave a will to somebody else, to a institution, and you die, it is not an excuse to become charitable while you are alive. You still have to become liberal. You have still to grab the opportunity to become what? A blessing to others while you are alive. Those who hold fast the property till the last moment surrender it to death rather than to the cause. Losses are occurring continually. We do not know, brethren. You might have a savings of money, maybe, shall we say, 10 years ago, you have put up large amount of money in your bank. And you said, oh, there are heaps of money. But inflation came, the value of that money decreased as well. Purchasing power of that money decreased. Because banks fail and property is consumed in very many ways. Many purpose to do something, but they delay the matter. And Satan works to prevent the means from coming into the treasury at all. It is lost before it is returned to God. Satan exalts that it is so. We have to think about many things, brethren. You know, it is not just that um, about other doctrinal matters in the church, in the Bible, but we have to take care as well with this important matter. And while we look, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, while we look not at the things which are sin, but the things which are not sin, for the things which are sin are temporal. But the things that are not sin are what? They are eternal. They are eternal. So you might have your wealth these days in our positions on earth. They are just temporary. They will be burned in the fire of the last day. But what is eternal is the one that Abraham was looking for. He was looking for a city whose builder and maker is God. That is eternal. It will endure to ceaseless ages of eternity. Money can have a powerful hold on human beings, a hold that has led to many ruin. It doesn't have to be that way, you know. Though by God's power we can overcome the enemy's attempt to take what was meant to be a blessing, even if it is a material position or health or spiritual, we can, depending on our use, depending on our choice, Satan can turn that into a curse. Money is good. We don't deny everyone. We don't say that you should not acquire money or wealth. They are good if it is used for good. They can be bad tool if it is used for bad. Sacred heritage, the sense of ownership of what we have worked for, and if we did it honestly, is rightfully ours, nevertheless a manifestation of life. Yeah. So whatever we acquire in a right manner, whatever we acquire honestly, that rightfully belongs to you. You have the right to that. If you acquire more honestly, you have the right to that. Regardless of how much we do or do not own, there's one important point that we should always remember here. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. It is who? It is for whom? To own them. It is the Lord. And it says as well in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 4, for every house is builded by some men, but he that built all things is God. He owns everything. This has the right to claim ownership. And he blessed him according to Melchizedek to Abraham. And he blessed him and said, blessed be Abram, the most high God, possessor of heaven and earth. And in Colossians chapter Colossians chapter what's that? Colossians chapter 1 says here from verse 15 to 17, talking about Christ. Christ is the image of the invisible God. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible. Whether they be what? They be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. So who owns everything here? Who created all things? Jesus Christ. By him and for him. And what else here? And it says, God would have us realize that he has a right to mind, soul, body, and spirit. He has the right to these four angles of our personality. He has the right to do that. Okay? Excuse me, I'm reading it. Yeah. So it says here, as our Creator, he claims our entire service. As our Redeemer, he has a claim of love as well as of right of love without parallel. And this claim we should realize every moment of our existence. And in Revelation chapter 14, verse 13, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which died in the Lord from henceforth, yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. In other words, brethren, this is even if you die, you're doing good. Remember this text and what the Word of God says. Those who die in the Lord from henceforth, they will rest from their labors, and their what? And their works will follow them. You have to remember that whatever we left behind will stay behind, but the records remains in heaven. And may the Lord bless us, brethren. We have to consider this now and then and think about this matter before we pass away from this world. God bless you all, and this is my wisdom prayer.